and welcome back to my kitchen. Philly cheesesteaks have to be in my top 10 all-time favorite sandwiches, and I'm often out there searching for that flavor without having to put it between two pieces of bread. So I think today I've come up with a recipe that's going to suit the bill. We're going to be making a Philly cheesesteak meatloaf. The ingredients that we're going to need today are 2 pounds of ground beef, 8 ounces of mushrooms, 1 green bell pepper, and 1 medium onion that I finely diced, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, and 2 tablespoons of ketchup, 2 whole eggs, a half of a teaspoon of pepper, a half of a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of butter, 8 ounces of sliced provolone cheese, 1 cup of plain panko breadcrumbs. And those are all our ingredients, so let's get this stuff moved out of our way and we'll start bringing our dish together. Here is the stove. I've already gone ahead and melted down my butter, to which I'm going to add all of our vegetables. I'm going to allow these to saute here on the stove for about 5 to 10 minutes, or until our onions are translucent and the mushrooms have released the majority of their water. It took about 7 minutes for the onions to start turning translucent and the mushrooms have released the majority of their water. I'm pretty happy with that. These are going to continue to cook in the oven. I didn't need to cook them all the way through, so I'm going to go ahead and turn these off and transfer them back into the bowl and allow them to start cooling for about 5 minutes. I'm also going to preheat my oven to 375 degrees. While we're waiting on the vegetables to cool, we'll go ahead and start bringing the meatloaf together with our hamburger, the 2 eggs, the ketchup and the Worcestershire sauce, the salt and pepper, and our panko breadcrumbs. And then I'm going to top it all off with our sauteed vegetables, which are still a little bit warm, but they have cooled down slightly. Once everything is well incorporated, I'm going to divide this in half and start putting half of it in the bottom of a 9 by 13 inch loaf pan. Now I did go ahead and spray mine and then line it with parchment paper. I just find it's easier to pull your meatloaf out of the pan after it's baked, but you can totally skip that step if you want to. I'm going to form a bit of a well in the center by pushing some of this meat up the side of the pan. Being sure to keep a nice thick bottom layer of our meat. And then I want to take about 6 of my provolone slices and start laying those right down the center of the meatloaf. That looks really good. Now I'm just going to top it all off with the remainder of our meat mixture. Now that I have all this together, I'm going to pop it into my 375 degree oven, where I'm going to allow it to bake for 40 minutes, though I am going to put it on top of a sheet tray just in case it decides to spill over. After 40 minutes, I removed the meatloaf from the oven so that I could top it with the remaining provolone cheese. I'm going to spread this evenly all across the top. Alright, there we go. That looks pretty good. Now this is going to go back in the oven for an additional 15 to 20 minutes, or until it's cooked all the way through and our cheese is melted on the top. The Philly cheesesteak meatloaf is finally done, and I've removed it from the oven and allowed it to cool down on the counter for about 10 minutes before slicing into it. I do want to add a little note here that it definitely needs to bake for about 50 to 60 minutes before you add that cheese on the top. The first time I pulled it from the oven, it wasn't quite done, but no big harm done to it. I just tinted it with aluminum foil and popped it back into the oven for an additional 20 minutes. And that was just to keep the cheese from burning on top. But all said and done, it looks fabulous. It smells really good. And I'm really excited to dig in here and try it out. I love how the cheese is oozing out of the middle of the meatloaf. It really reminds me of a Philly cheesesteak in looks. Let's see if it tastes like one. Overall, I would say it definitely tastes like a Philly cheesesteak, though I'm not really getting a lot of the green pepper. So I think if I would make this again, I definitely want to cut those green peppers just a little bit larger than what I did this time around. But other than that, yep, it definitely reminds me of a Philly cheesesteak. But that is going to be it for me for the day. If you guys have enjoyed this video, leave me a comment down below. If you tried this recipe out, let me know how it turned out for you. And as always, thank you all so very much for joining me today. I've been Volker. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.